guys, my name's Linz. Thanks for choosing my channel to follow. Today we're going to talk about cruising with Royal Caribbean, but cruising as a care worker with your service user, and if it's the right ship for both of you to go on. So I think it is. For us it worked out very, very well. It's a large ship, plenty of space, plenty of sensory and plenty of activities. But let me talk you through this. So we chose our ship. We then had to choose our parking, and we chose to park with ABP. Now we booked this in probably about 3 or 4 months prior to going. It cost around £150 to £160. That was from a Monday to a Monday, so the 8 days. We booked out the disabled spot, and then we were all sorted. I had to think of everything we needed to pack prior to going and make sure we had plenty of everything. So as a care worker, I needed to think about the medication. Has it been ordered? Have I got enough to take with me? Now, I always like to take extra medication. I take probably 4 to 5 days spare medication, purely due to you do not know what could happen when you're away. And if you, God forbid, got stuck in a hospital, sorting medication out could be quite problematic. So I like to make sure we have enough. Like to make sure we have enough pads for personal care, making sure we have all our wash staff, everything we need to take, all prior to going. So once I've sorted everything out, that's fine, and then pack the bags. Now when I pack the bags, I like to make sure I put half of my items in my service user's suitcase and half of hers or his in mine. That way, if a suitcase does go for a little walkabout and it doesn't turn up to your cabin, you know you've got some items to get you through. I even do this if I'm going on a plane with my family. I always split everything up. Now, we get to the parking, and I'm a little bit concerned this time because the parking had changed. So before, you'd be in your car and you'd drive round and you'd unload your luggage and they'll take it from you. But this time you went straight to the parking. I thought, oh no, crikey, what am I going to do? So what we did, they said, don't worry, you take your luggage out of your car, you leave it by your car, and off you go to the ship. Well, how easy was that? No confuffle, no worries. So we leave the luggage, and I thought to myself, hang about, what time do we get our suitcases? Then the lady said it could be about 7 o'clock in the evening. Now, you've got a client who has personal care. Have you got everything on you? Gloves, incontinent pads, spare trousers, because between 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock is quite a long time, and there's a possible chance they may have an accident. So be prepared. And also, have you got your afternoon medication and maybe your 6 o'clock in the evening medication on you to give to your service user if required? So anyway, we leave everything there and I take out what I need. I've got a little backpack on me, so everything's all prepared for. Off I go to the ship. Then we check in. Now I checked in 21 days prior to leaving. So you can do that online, or you can do it when you get there. There's 2 ways of doing this. So when you check in when you get there, you give your passport over, and then for me, for my account, I'd give my bank card over. For the person I'm with, they'd give their bank card over. Brilliant. That's it. The money comes off your bank account as you spend using your C-Pass. Now, let's say you've got a service user who's on a budget and you're thinking, right, they've got about £200-300, but that's the most they can really spend on board. Not a problem. Put £200 or £300 on the C-Pass in cash. There we are. You can always look on the app and it will tell you if you're coming up to the end of using that money. And then when you're on the ship, you go down to guest relations and you can always top it up with more if needed. But I think that's a very good way. Now, when you choose to use your bank account, they put the money in pending, then they really take what's in pending extra at the end of the week. Then you have to wait probably 2 to 3 weeks for the rest of the money to come back to you that was sitting in pending. So it's a bit like a double whammy when you get off the boat. So I think the C-Pass of putting cash on it is a really good option. Once you're on the boat, you've got to remember Everybody is now on that boat, but no one's got a room to go to because you can't check into your room until like probably 2 to 3 o'clock. So, bit of a problematic situation with the list. I'm on level probably deck maybe 5 or 6, and I need to get to deck 12, where the buffet is for the lunch. So the only way we're going to get up there with my service user is using the lift. Everyone's using that lift. So I'm waiting. Probably took about 20 minutes to be fair in total. But this is a one-off. We had our lunch, can't fault the buffet, all the meats you can think of, salads, breads, cheeses, lots of different puddings. Now the one thing that is very, very good, when we got on there, the drinks were available, even without a drinks package. You don't have to buy them. So with your breakfast, lunch and dinner, they do free, I suppose it's like lemon squash, iced tea, and maybe something like an orange squash. You don't get your Pepsis and your lemonades involved in that, because that you do have to buy unless you are on a drinks package. So, and you can have as many of them as you want. Not a problem. Okay, so we've eaten a lovely buffet. We then go back to the room and we find our room. Outside your room will be your cabin cards. So we had 2 of them because there's 2 of us in our room. We then went on and had a little mooch around. So when we walked in, we have our shower room and toilet and sink. Then I was very pleasantly surprised that we had a small lounge. It's a seating area with a 2-seater sofa, a little glass table, a dressing table and TV, twin beds, then a balcony. My service user loved this. Plenty of room for them to get around, and also plenty of room for me to be able to help with personal care. So in the shower room, I checked it over. Yet again, I was very happy to see the shower was a shower you could remove from the wall. So that makes it easier for doing personal care. Now, for example, I've been on ships where the shower head just remains on the wall and you can't do anything about it. The toilet was big enough for both of us to fit in there when needed. Not a problem. But going up, there's always a little step up on all the cruise ships into the shower room. So that could be a trip hazard. So you've got to think, just make sure that you're watching your service user when they're walking into there. So then we have the balcony. So I wanted to check the balcony out. Is there a child lock on there? Is there a safety lock or something? Just when I'm not in the room, I'm in the shower myself. But there isn't. Now, I knew there wasn't because I'd been on Anthem of the Seas a year previous to this. But my first time going on, I did panic a little bit. So when we went this time, I printed off an A4 bit of paper which had no entry sign on it and do not open. Bit of blue tack, took that with me. So when I'm in the shower in the morning, I can just put that on the door. Now, my service user is not going to go out onto the balcony, as this person likes to go on there, look over, and my concern is looks over a little bit too much. So, and I'm not there. So that way I feel safe in the knowing the knowledge that he or she isn't going to go out there by themselves. So later on, our bags arrived to the room. We hadn't actually set sail at this point, but there were so many activities already on. The water park was up and running. Well, like a small water park on deck 12. You could go in the swimming pool. There was already archery on. So much to do. So we thought we'd go for a little wander around and have a look. And the ship is big. It's a very large ship, and everyone's obviously having a look around with you because I don't think they can believe it themselves either. There's music playing already. So much to do. You can then go down and see what activities are on your app. So I highly recommend having the app on your phone. You can choose choose throughout the week if you want to, but I like to look at it every night before we go to bed with my service user. We have a look through and they'll let me know if there's anything specific they would like to do, put it in my diary, and I schedule it into the calendar. And then I probably get a notification a couple of hours beforehand to let me know that the activity is coming up soon. After that, we then came back to the room and got ready for dinner. We did go up to the buffet for this one again. because I think there's so many options available to you that the buffet, I actually would say, is the best place to go rather than the restaurant. You know, if you want ice cream, anything, it's there. And you can take your time and just relax and sit there for as long as you want. But with the right restaurant, you get 2 sittings. So you need to be out by the time the next sitting comes in. So the buffet is a definite yes for me and my service user. We then, prior to going, had booked some excursions. Now you want to book these in really as far in advance as you possibly can, because you get the probably 10% off, and the same as the Wi-Fi. If you book on board, you pay full amount. The excursions were very good. You've got to work out, is it worthwhile? So one of our excursions I was a little bit sad about. It cost my service user, I think, maybe $156, where we could have got a taxi probably for €30, €30 to where we were going, and €30 back. Because it was just the coach trip that just took us there, nothing else. However, you always run the risk that if you do it externally, the boat, if you are late, may not always wait for you. But if you use who they're advertising and the companies they use, the boat has to wait for you if you are late. I don't fancy waving the boat off with me and my service user on land while my boat goes off and continues with its holiday. That's a bit of a stress I don't need. So do book the holidays, your excursions, through the company you're going with. We then went to the shows in the evening. Now, the shows in the evening are out of this world. I think what they put on, you couldn't ask more. They last for around 45 minutes. The waiters come up to you, you can get your drinks, anything you want to, and they do popcorn when you walk in. I think it costs around $2 for a bit of popcorn. It's next to nothing. My service user loves popcorn, so not every night we have some popcorn. I watched a theatre show. There's also an ice skating ring on there. There's so much that you can do. So walking around the boat, there is handrails. There actually isn't that much in the respect of handrails on both sides, only one side on the Royal Caribbean. On the P&O, I believe handrails are on both sides, which I think are actually better. But it did work fine, not a problem. But if you need to hold on to 2 sides when the ship's moving, maybe think about that. I mean, I had an arm for this person, and this person could hold on to the handrail the other side and walking around. But that's up and down towards the suites, your cabin where you're staying. The drinks packages I want to talk about next. Now, I think it works out roughly $32 for the deluxe one, and maybe $23. I don't know. You need to split yourself for just a soft drink one. You've got to work out, if your service user's paying for the holiday, they're going to pay for the drinks package. Now, as care workers, we can't actually drink alcohol when we're working. So are they going to drink and you that amount a day in drinks? I don't think so. We took on a couple of bottles of Diet Coke, a couple of bottles of water for medication to take, and I think that was fine. You've got to think, you're on that boat 7-8 days. 4 days of that is an excursion. So are you going to drink that amount of drinks on those 4 days that are remaining? And one of them's getting off at 8 o'clock in the morning. So really it's like 3 days. I don't think so. I think really, even when my husband and I cruise, we never do a drinks package, because they'll say cocktails are included in it, but that's up to maybe $11, but most of them are $12. So you'll get 1 or 2 that are included in the drinks package, but that really is it. So my advice and my opinion on that one is to scrap your drinks package. The Royal Caribbean is very sensory. And it's very, very large for wheelchair users, anyone with a walker, works very, very well in that case. We're now going to talk about the washing. So washing your clothes. This is where Royal Caribbean do let themselves down just a little bit. So with P&O, I think near enough every deck has a laundry room that you can use. It's about €3 each time you do a wash. However, with Royal Caribbean, you have to pay for your laundry. So I take on some washing powder, do the light stuff with, do it in the sink. You've got a little clothesline across your shower, and I do it there. So you can fill up a bag, which is $35. Now, when I say a bag, I mean a small bag. I'm not going to get much in there. I mean, I rolled up as many clothes as I could the first time round, and I didn't think it was worth it. Buy some extra Kylie's if you need to. If your service user needs inkle sheets or anything, buy extra, and then just take them home with you. Put them in a bag and take them home. The staff are absolutely brilliant on Royal Caribbean. So say my service user has an accident, as long as I clean up the accident, they will then come and bleach everything for you. That's brilliant. You know, I couldn't ask for more. They don't have bags for you to put the pad sizes in that maybe your service user uses. Take some bags with you, and then every day they will dispose of them. Just tie them up, leave them in the bathroom, and they will get rid of them for you. Other than that, I think that Royal Caribbean is the ship to choose for somebody who enjoys sensory, who possibly is in a wheelchair, maybe hard of walking, enjoys a bit of nightlife. There's parties going on all the time. The restaurants, the food, the shops. Highly recommend it. Just before I go, I want to add in what you do the night before you leave your cruise. So you need to pack up all of your luggage and put it outside your door. That'll be collected. Now just remember to keep that rucksack back, because in the morning you're going to need to put your night dressing and whatever your clients used overnight into a bag. And don't go packing what you need to wear the next day, because you are going to walk off in your night dress. So just remember to keep that bag behind so you can put everything in it. Other than that, I really do appreciate you watching all of this, and I hope it's been some help to you as a care worker. Like I said, I've got more videos coming up of P&O, Cunard, Fred Olsen, ones that I've used specifically with service users. And there'll be more, not only on holidays, but I'd like to do activities that I do and what activities are good for clients with additional needs and what have worked and haven't. But thank you so much. Bye.